Good afternoon. I'm Peter Fortenbaugh, as Mark mentioned, CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Peninsula. He gave my bio already, so you kind of got that. I don't know if you can say if I was a college athlete or not. It's a little dubious. I was on the Princeton sailing team, so I traveled and raced all across the country. It was away from school more than half the weekends of the school year, so I certainly put the time and effort into it. It was really important to me. Is there anyone who ever won a Campbell Prize who was a sailor? Yeah, you guys probably would not call me an athlete. That's cool. I'm okay with that. I don't look like any of you guys in here either, so that's understandable. But that was sort of my shtick growing up. And so as Mark mentioned, I kind of had a pretty typical business career. Never really knew what I wanted to do. I kind of just did the right thing. You know, go to school, get good grades. Well, what do you do after an econ major? You go to banking or consulting. So I did consulting and then go to business school. Okay, that sounds good. And didn't get into Stanford. Otherwise, I would have been here, of course. Who wouldn't be here? So I had to go to Harvard instead, and then after that, what do you do? Worked out all right, I guess. But after that, what do you do? Well, you know, McKinsey's this great firm. Go work for them, sure, did that. But never any kind of passion or sense of direction. And then after doing that for a couple of years, decided to join a high-tech startup and came out here at the beginning of the bubble and got a great experience back in 97 and 2001, a company called Exodus Communications. But still wasn't really fulfilled. And had a glimpse into some sort of corporate success, if you will, very superficial. I was a lucky MBA, right place, right time, no skills at all, didn't deserve any of that, but was just incredibly fortunate to be here when the tide was rising so fast. Even I got risen up with it, but had a view into sort of long-term success, and for me personally, didn't find it that enriching. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't deeply fulfilling. And so I decided, let me figure out what I really want to do with my career and the rest of my life. And I'm not one of these guys who wanted to work for Goldman, retire at age 50, and then, raise my grandkids, but having missed my own kids. I want to be there for my own kids and really enjoy that part of my life. And I decided that the issue I really cared about, that I'm passionate about, is the opportunity gap that exists in our country. I think America's great. I think the capitalist system we have is pretty good. But I'm also aware that I got to where I was based on a lot of opportunities that other kids didn't have. And so if I could spend the next 40 years of my career working on something, my passion was to make our world a little bit more fair, if you will. It's pretty naive, it's pretty simplistic, but that's what excites me. So that's what I did, and I've been really fortunate to have been there for 17 years. It's an incredible blessing to have an opportunity to go to work every day on something I care about, and even call work is a joke. The whole idea of work-life balance, for me, doesn't even exist because this is what I choose to do in my free time. This is what inspires me, and I get so much more out of it than I put into it. So I've been incredibly fortunate and blessed. And one of the things I've seen and learned during my time at the Boys and Girls Clubs is how important volunteers are. There are, I guess, millions of Americans out there who are in the shadows, no one hears about, unheard of, quiet, who are making our country a better place. And you don't hear about them, but they could be on your local school board. They could be a city council member. They could be in the art commission. They could be working for the local Pets in Need. Who knows what they're doing? Maybe they're cleaning up the river in your hometown. But the way the American society is set up today, we need volunteers to fill in significant gaps that exist. We're not as socialist as some other European countries. We don't want to be as cutthroat as maybe we could become. At least I don't think so. And so the balance of our society and the success of our society is dependent upon people reaching out and making a difference. And I see these folks, and in my mind, they're the real heroes of America. They're not in the press, they're quiet, but I see the tremendous difference they're making in people's lives. And Brandon's an example, and he'll share with you in a minute some examples of that. And so I want to encourage you guys to be those kind of volunteers, to step out. Obviously, you're early in your careers, you have to put your head down, you got a lot of work to get done, and so on. But if not you, then who? You're incredibly gifted people, talented, you know how to navigate the system, you're positioned for success, however you define success, not monetarily, but in other ways. You are the ones who have the ability to give back and to support others now. I remember once I was talking to a classmate of mine from business school, and he asked, isn't it enough if you just go to work and take care of your family and pay taxes and do your thing? Isn't that contributing? And I wasn't really sure of the answer, but I've been thinking about that for the years, actually, since. And my belief is the answer is no, that's not enough. Unfortunately, there are too many people in our country who don't have the skills, the assets, and the starting position that those of us in this room have. And if we want to have a more just society, it's incumbent upon us to take time to support others. And I want to encourage you to do that. And the great thing about that, though, is that it's a win-win. You get more out of it, or as much out of it than you put in. And all the research shows, and I can tell from personal experience, the happiest people we know are the ones who are doing something bigger than themselves, right? Who are contributing to others, who feel like they're part of their community, who are not isolated. And you guys have all been on winning teams. You've all been athletes, competitors. You know what it's like to band together and be part of something and work with others to accomplish your goal. But what's so great about community service is it's no longer a zero-sum game. You know, you were rocking your heads and banging against people to try to take from someone else a trophy. When you work for your community, it's about building up, and everyone wins and no one has to lose. So I really want to encourage you to go out and try to do that and get involved, because you will make a phenomenal difference. And the question everyone usually asks is, well, I don't know if I have the skills to do that. That's what I hear all the time at the Boys and Girls Clubs. If I want to get involved, how can I help? Or how can I actually contribute? And that's not the right question. There are two other questions you should be asking. First question is, what do you care about? Find out where your passion is. More importantly, find out where your compassion is. What do you really care about? What do you want to make better? It could be the local environment. It could be low-income youth, like the Boys and Girls Clubs. It could be art in the local art commission. It doesn't matter what it is, but find something that you care about, because if you don't care about it, it's not going to be sustainable. And the second question is, do you have the time? Because that's what really matters for the long term. Key message to you is what we don't need is a lot of drive-by volunteers, especially at a place like the Boys and Girls Clubs where you're having relationships. The real heroes that I see are the ones who commit for the long term, stay engaged, and are supportive. It's not a high dosage and then stop. Pick whatever dosage you can, and please stick it out for the long term. That's what makes a difference. And that's what we need. So I wanted Brandon Ortega. He was one of the Boys and Girls Club's Youth of the Year to come join us today. And Brandon's been with the club for a long time. He actually just graduated from the local high school, Menlo Atherton, and he'll be a freshman in a matter of days at UC Merced. So we're super proud of Brandon. He's one of our all-stars. He's going places. And he'll share with you his experience working with some volunteers.
All right, hi. As Peter mentioned, my name is Brandon Ortega. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of nervous. I did give a speech at graduation, but this one kind of feels different, you know? So hi, my name's Brandon Ortega. I am a first-generation student who's living in a low-income household. And I feel very fortunate to have the experience to see the benefits of what it feels to have a great mentor. And not just one, you know, it can be as many as two for example. My mentors have become, seriously, the role models that they have provided the glimpse into a bright future that I honestly never really knew existed. One of my mentors, his name is Matt Mayerson. He is very persistent. And when I say persistent, it's like, what are you doing today? You know? And I know what it means to be persistent because of him. He always makes sure that I feel prepared for my next step in my life, which in a couple of days, like Peter mentioned, will be college. Whew. He always schedules meetings with me to answer my questions, and these questions were as simple as, what can I do? You know, personal questions about college, because I'm going into college, and questions about how can I be an adult, or what's it like to be an adult, because that's scary. And honestly, I realized what mattered most was the time that he gave, and that he listened to me, that someone actually listened to me. And most of that time, I'm going to be honest with you, it seemed like it was just chaos that he was listening to, because my world felt like it was flipped upside down most of the time. And he helped me become more confident. It was simple as he edited my speeches, like Peter mentioned, during the Youth of the Year process, that right after he would schedule a meeting and meet in person and have me practice in front of him. And even extended to classroom work where it was a Spanish presentation and he didn't even know Spanish, by the way. And I was presenting it to him. And, and during my senior year, he made sure that I applied to scholarships. And it was easy as just telling me how many scholarships I've applied to. And he was very persistent on that and followed up. And I remember I got a text message from him saying that he believed in me, and I remember I smiled quite big. As you can see, I love to smile. And he did it because he sees the potential in me that I quite never really saw in myself. Growing up, I knew, I had to do something, I didn't know what, and I never really saw a future for myself. And it feels amazing to know that I have two role models in my life that are willing to invest time in my future. And interesting, Matt Mayerson introduced me to my next role model. His name is Erwin Hilton. Erwin, to me, is a genius in computer science. I worked with him. He taught me a lot of coding. And to be honest, he kept me on track during my last year in high school. Working with him helped me refine my goals, and I decided to pursue a degree in computer science and engineering. My mentors have opened doors full of opportunities that not many get. As I reflect, Matt and Erwin helped me develop and advance through high school. I have gained extra skills and understanding. I'm grateful that they were and continue to be part of my life and future growth. And to be honest, I am super excited to announce that I'm attending UC Merced with my first year paid off, completely due to multiple scholarships. So just to see how my story has changed with having two mentors, imagine what you guys can do. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Wow. That'll be tough for me to follow, but Brandon, you're a stud. That's incredible. You're gonna have an awesome 4 years. I think you go up to any of these guys in the room, and they'd probably give you some great advice that it's just gonna be a really fun 4 years, and just enjoy it, because soon you'll end up like us in one of these chairs. But you got a lot ahead of you. Hey guys, I'm Dan Giovacchini. I know a bunch of you, and if I haven't met you yet, I'm sure I will tonight at Old Pro, which I'm very excited about. But so part of what we sort of talked about last year coming out of this summit was, how do we take the momentum? How do we take the energy, from guys like Brad Smith and Ronnie Lott and Steve Young coming in and really sharing some incredible lessons and motivation with us. I remember last year, Ronnie got on one of his sort of 10-minute speeches and suddenly erupted and was just, let's go, and everybody was like ready to run through a brick wall. But we left the summit and we had a lot of questions, and it was, how do we take this brotherhood? How do we take what Mark and the generosity of so many others have helped create and really be a force for good? And how do we get together as a group and do something really meaningful in the vernacular of multipliers? How do we stretch ourselves? How do we take some of these lessons we've learned and really put them to practice and make them part of our identities and who we are as people? And so we were fortunate enough to come visit Peter, a small group of us. I was living in San Francisco, so it made it a little bit easier for me and a few of the guys. But to come spend time at the Boys and Girls Club of the Peninsula, which is an unbelievable club run by Peter, and it really clicked with us that we heard from some of the kids and we heard from some of the volunteers, and we were like, this is something that we could bring to the group, and we want to present a challenge that I think you guys have hopefully seen maybe in the program on one of the pages, that we could all get together and do this. And one of the beautiful things about a Boys and Girls Club or other similar volunteering mentoring organizations is that they're all over the country. And so, we can spread out as a group and really have an impact and spread the spirit of Bill. And so, part of what I guess exactly what the challenge is we want to try and stretch, have a Mission Impossible goal here of 10,000 hours by next year's summit. And so the hope is that we can get interest and commitment to learning more, and people can take this back and commit to a time that works for them, and we'll be able to track sort of from afar hours logged by people, and then we'll hopefully be able to come back next year and say, hey, as a group we logged 10,000 hours. We made a dent, and tell that to guys like to Brad and Ronnie and Mark, and say, we're really thankful for what you've given us. So one other thing on that note is we would strongly encourage to recruit a buddy so we can double the impact if everybody would basically bring recruit a friend in the area, or a teammate, a former teammate, what have you, and that part you can share in the experience, you can share in the enjoyment of helping kids and being part of their lives, and that way we'll actually be able to spread beyond just our group here today. And so so I woke up this morning and I had a scary flashback. I was sticking to the bed and I was in a random dorm room and I was a little disoriented. I didn't know where I was. I had a 7 a.m. breakfast and I'm like, oh crap, this feels like preseason. But I had 10 minutes to just think before breakfast, what are the things I want to practice coming out of this year? And I've already learned more today, but a few of the things that have kind of stuck out to me, one from Jeff yesterday, was what it means to be a compassionate leader. And he described compassion as empathy plus action. So, the first step is kind of putting yourself out there and being able to understand other people and think outside of yourself. But the second step is sort of commitment and going and doing it. And so, that was something that stood out to me. He's built that entire culture into LinkedIn, and that's something that I want to take personally out of this. I heard Brad yesterday, he kept using this phrase, how do we make it better tomorrow? That's something I want to be a part of, and I think a lot of people here do. And this morning, Steve talking about, how do we be athletic? What does that mean in life? And that's being multidimensional. And we all have careers, and we all starting families, a lot of us, and great friends. But how do we really kind of capture all that life has to offer and give all we can? So those are some things I'm going to be working on. I'm sure you guys have yours, and it'd be great to share and reflect on those over the next couple days. But what I want to do right now is actually I've set up a little mobile audience polling system where if you enter URL right now for meet.ps/Campbell-trophy-2019. I'm going to go through that one again. But if we can get it, I don't know if it's possible to get it on the screen. There's a website. All right, I'm going to go through it again. It's meet.ps/Campbell-trophy-2019. If you can, I don't know, it might be a little small to see up there. But basically what it's going to ask you for is your email and what your interest and commitment level would be to sort of entering this challenge, this group challenge. And what this would be is from here, we're going to follow up with an email that will just describe some ways to get started and some kind of information on what activities you could expect to get involved with at a local club. And we'll be able to sort of help and make this a big group effort. There we go. So I'll leave this open. This is also a way of collecting emails so we can follow up on a listserv.
Nice job with the challenge. General McChrystal yesterday said one of the best things you can do is be a great follower. Amen.
Right on. Well, this is a brotherhood, and I hope you know, a lot of us feel a lot of love for each other, even just after a couple days, and so this is I think a great way to stay together. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to take them now or tonight at Old Pro over a couple of beers. I might be pretty talkative too, so. But that's it, and thank you so much, Peter and Brandon, for sharing your story. I mean, this is the reason to do it.